All right, well, if I check my notes here, yes, you guys have made Pistols of the Warlords an even more successful Kickstarter than Chassepot de FAMAS already, and we're already only like 4 days into it. That is amazing. It is way beyond what we expected. Like, we hoped this would be popular. We didn't anticipate it would be this popular, and I'm thrilled to see it. So, have a lot to talk about here because we have surpassed a couple more stretch goals. We have now unveiled all of the stretch goals, and I want to talk about the $1 million stretch goal, which is pretty exciting. But first, we have unlocked a further Warlord profile on Feng Yuxiang, aka the Christian Warlord. He converted to Christianity. Specifically, he became a Methodist in 1914 and was thence after basically known as the Christian Warlord. One of perhaps a very small minority of warlords who actually did some good stuff for the peasants under his control, for the territory that he controlled. He had a number of pretty progressive sort of policies, things like getting rid of foot binding for women, drug treatment for addicts. He did a bunch of stuff that was legitimately good stuff, aside from being a tyrannical warlord. So he ended up actually in the United States in the 1940s. He was sent to the U.S. by the nationalist government to like investigate agriculture-related things as an agent of the government. Got over to the U.S. and fairly quickly decided that he kind of liked it here, and he would just instead kind of go on a prolonged speaking tour, which he did until dying in a potentially suspicious, but probably just ordinary boat accident. Anyway, we'll have a full profile on him. We also have the custom headbands unlocked, and what I'm excited about on those is that these are, by the way, basically the cloth, the wrapping in between the pages and the binding of the book. And typically, it's kind of ordinary stuff. On Chassepot de FAMAS, we had custom headbands, and we did the tricolore, the red, the white, and the blue of the French flag. What I want to do on this book is actually have the headbands match the 5-banner flag of the nationalist government during the Warlord era. It was just 5 horizontal banners of solid color, which is perfect to duplicate on custom headbands on a book. So that was one color for each of the 5 major ethnicities in China at the time. It'll be a neat thing. We'll have that in there. And then, of course, the one that most people obviously have been excited about is cocktails. We will be including a selection of cocktails, both period originals and modern reinterpretations. Now, Warlord China is not exactly known for being a hotbed of cocktail culture. And as I looked at it, there just wasn't anything to work with. And so I kept looking, and I realized that there was a hotbed of cocktail culture in Warlord era China. It was Shanghai. The city of Shanghai had a significant international settlement that was an incredibly cosmopolitan place at that time. It's often referred to as like the Paris of the East. And I was able to find a cocktail book from a Shanghai nightclub from the 1930s. And that has this fascinating treasure trove of original period cocktails. And so what we're going to do is have a selection of originals, noting that these are the taste of the time, which wouldn't necessarily be the most popular sort of thing today. Our tastes have changed a bit today. So instead of having totally made from scratch modern original cocktails or modern creations, the second half of the cocktail setup for Pistols of the Warlords is going to be reinterpretations of those period recipes to bring them more in line with modern taste. So I think that's pretty fun. I'm gonna have a good time going through and making all of that happen. But it'll be pretty cool. We also had found some original documentation from a couple of restaurants. So we've got sort of the aesthetic style of early 1930s Shanghai bars and restaurants and nightclubs, and that's how we're gonna style the cocktail sheets there. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. I'm pretty sure you will. It's pretty cool. Now, having hit $800,000, which is still a little bit flabbergasting to me, we have unlocked the last 4. We have revealed the last 4 of our stretch goals. 2 of those are the last 2 Warlord profiles, those being Zhang Zholin and Yan Zishan. That's the old marshal and the model governor. Yan Zishan is one of the more interesting guys, I think. He is, I think, actually the longest running like warlord in charge of a specific piece of territory. He ran Shanxi province and was in power there for essentially the entire Warlord era, which is really pretty remarkable. Nobody else had that sort of consistency. And as a result, Shanxi was able to do some things that a lot of other places didn't, including a lot of their own arms development. In particular, you may be thinking of the Shanxi 45 caliber broom handle Mauser copies, which of course are in the book. We have a whole section on those in the book. But the Shanxi arsenal did, well, it was the Taiyuan arsenal in Shanxi, did more than just those 45 caliber broom handles. So we've got a selection of their other guns in the book as well. And it'll be nice to, if we can hit that stretch goal, to also have a profile on Yan Zishan, the governor in charge of all of that work. And then, oh wait, no. And then also, we have a stretch goal out there for additional maps. Just like our previous books, we are putting a map of China with all of the arsenal locations and provincial names and that sort of information to give you context for what's being talked about in the book. That's in the book from the beginning. If we hit this stretch goal, we will also have a series of additional maps showing some of the territorial changes during the height of the Warlord era wars in the 1920s, the Clique Wars. So that'll be fun to have if we hit that stretch goal. But the big one that I'm really excited about, if we do, is a $1 million stretch goal. And that is to answer the question of, are these things actually safe to shoot? Now, we can't 100% answer that question because every one of these pistols is different. And the construction and the heat treating in particular is going to vary from gun to gun, and you can't determine that just by looking at them. You can tell a lot of the mechanical aspects just visually, but not the heat treating. However, what I will do if we hit $1 million is I will get a pair of Warlord era pistols, one in 32 ACP and one in 7.63 Mauser, both simple blowback guns. So they're not going to be C96 copies. And I don't know, like, I'd like them to both be domestic Chinese designs, but I'm looking for guns that are going to be in good mechanical condition, reasonably speaking, but poor aesthetic condition, because there is a chance that we will destroy one or both of these guns in the process of what I have in mind here. Now, the idea is I'm going to get a ransom rest and some custom fitted ransom rest side panels, and we will actually go out on the range and test fire both of these guns under high-speed photography, because I'm as curious as you guys are as to what happens. Like, especially the 7.63 Mauser copies that are simple blowback. Do they work? Like, they must work, because I've seen plenty of them that have evidence of firing, but they don't have evidence of having exploded. Now, I have seen a number, and there are a bunch of them in the book, that have evidence of damage, of parts bending and peening. So we know that at least some of them wouldn't have met today's safety standards. But what we can see under high-speed photography is how fast is the slide moving? How much does the slide weigh? And that gives us a pretty good mechanical idea of, well, to answer the question of, do they work or will they blow the slide off into your face? So 32 should be safer than 7.63 Mauser. We'll definitely be firing both of them with strings from behind safe barricades. But like, especially when we do 32s, I have an original FN 1900, and we'll take it out and we'll put it on camera, on high-speed camera, and measure the exact velocity of the slide. And then we can compare that to a Chinese manufactured 32 with a similar slide mass and see what's the difference. And then also compare the slide velocity on a 7.63 Mauser pistol to an FN 1900. I would compare it to a simple blowback European 7.63 Mauser, except I don't think there were any, because that's not generally considered a safe combination. So that is a set of videos that if we hit the stretch goal, I will film those. They won't be filmed during the Kickstarter, but I will go ahead and get all of that in process and get it filmed, certainly before the books are in your hands, before the books are printed and then shipped. And we will make those videos initially open to backers of the project. They will later on be posted in public, because that's information that's just too interesting and too good to hide behind a paywall. But there will be at least a month or two period beforehand where those videos will be exclusive to those of you guys who support the book and are interested in it. So that's all of the exciting stuff that we have coming. I was hoping we would get to these things. I did not expect that we would get to them this quickly in Kickstarter. So thank you all very much for the massive support. And I guess we'll just see where it goes from here. I'll be back with another update when we hit a couple of the remaining stretch goals, assuming we do. But thank you all.